What were your fears there, or were there any struggles or anything?
I had my own, personal struggles here and there, but just as far as like things that could be applied to my generation, I think that one thing that could possibly be in common with other people from my generation is that I think we were raised in a relatively permissive time, and so, whereas my family was actually quite conservative, and I kind of grew up in that conservative bubble. By being involved with a lot of my friends at school, we were exposed to a lot of things that I think parents are more cautious about these days. When I was going to high school, keg parties were very common. Underage drinking was extremely common. I didn't participate in it myself, but it was all around me. I was sometimes at parties where things were going on that now that I look back on it, I realize, wow, they shouldn't have been doing that. Or, even at the time, I was aware. I was often aware of, people doing things that my family didn't necessarily approve of, but it was very, very common in my school. My school actually had a place where the kids who smoked could go out and smoke on campus. It was sanctioned. I think that's very different from today. I don't think you can go to a public school campus today and have a place where the kids smoke their cigarettes, sanctioned in a legal way. So I think we were definitely in a generation that was kind of coming out of the 60s era, where a lot of social mores were changing, and I think that the boundaries were pushed as far as like how kids dealt with drugs, alcohol, smoking, promiscuity, whatever. I think the boundaries were really, really pushed. It was also kind of in an era where people didn't understand all of the consequences of some of their behavior. So, some of the diseases that, came about or got transmitted, people weren't necessarily kind of looking out, the term safe sex wasn't out there. So, again, whereas I personally was raised in a very conservative bubble in my own family, I was very aware of a lot of the things that were going on around me at my school. And so I think that was a struggle for a lot of people. I think that as my generation has grown up into parents, we've actually had a much tighter rein on our children. We also, I think, are more aware of all the things that can potentially happen to our own little kids. Like, we grew up in a generation where